Hello, and welcome to Character Class. This week, I'd like to talk to you about Werewolf the Apocalypse. In fact, 5 tips on playing Werewolf the Apocalypse, much like my 5 tips for playing Vampire the Masquerade. Now, the sort of things that I mentioned in the Vampire the Masquerade video, they kind of apply to any World of Darkness setting. Uh, the antagonist characters, where with the vampires they were the Sabbat, with these, they're called the Black Spiral Dancers. Uh, as I said, leave those to the storyteller. Do your research. Look for your opportunities. All those tips that I mentioned there can be applied here. So I'm gonna focus on something else for Werewolf the Apocalypse. Uh, Now, there's several things to cover here, but I've kind of grouped them into five little tips. The first of which, because we're going to jump right in, the first of which is to know your role. And what I mean by that is your auspice. Now, one of the things that Werewolf has is you are born under a specific phase of the moon, the auspice. And there is the Ragabash, there is the Theurge, the Philodox, the Galliard, and the Arun. Those are your 5 auspices. And each one of those corresponds to a different role that Gaia, who is the mother, the Earth Mother, and Luna have given you. That is your role. That is what you're supposed to do. If you're born Ragabash, you're a trickster. You're the one that it's your job to kind of play devil's advocate, to poke fun at people when they're getting too full of themselves, to bring them down, uh, to keep them grounded. It's your job to keep the hopes up as well. There's other things that they mention in here about the Ragabash for that particular thing. If I can find it, it's probably farther ahead. I jumped too far ahead, I think. Yeah, auspices, right here. Yeah, the Ragabash, the new moon, the trickster. Uh, they're the bringer of wisdom to those who believe themselves wise. Uh, Ragabash not only reveals that the emperor has no clothes, he dumps the pretentious snot in a puddle of mud as a lesson for other would-be kings. By undermining tradition and authority at every turn, the Ragabash keeps his fellows on their toes, teaching them the folly of self-importance and the wisdom of humility. Uh, so yes, it is that sort of a thing. Um, Now, Garu are very, very angry and very, very uppity, usually, for the most part. Uh, so to have something like that as a role is something to be. It's one of the things that they need to keep an eye on. You've got the Theurge is the seer. They're the ones that are attuned to the Umbra, the spirit world most. They're the ones that communicate with the spirits, forge pacts. Uh, that's pacts with a T, Pacts, not pacts with a K, which is something else that are in here. They do all of that. They're the spirit. They're the liaison to the spirits, the one that perform rituals and so on. Then you got the Philodox, the half moon, the keeper of the ways. They are kind of the balance, the pack mediator, the resolution, the judge, uh, as well as the one who tends to know the litany of the Garu, their ways, most keenly, the one who to answer questions, to arbitrate. That's that role. The Galliard is the moon dancer. They are the one who is very, very passionate, very much the singer of the songs of the tribes, the passing on of oral tradition and stories. Uh, that's what the Galliard is all about, as well as being, the one to sing the song of war and so forth. And then you've got the Arun is the full moon, the warrior, the rager, the one who is just full of Gaia's fury. Their role is to be the fighters, the front line, the ones who attack the most, who know the most. And knowing that role going into character creation, because a lot of these tips are kind of focused on character creation in that stage, but are also carry on into playing your character once you get it done. So knowing the role, knowing what's expected of you, is extremely important in this particular system. because of the social aspect, which we'll cover later. Now, on to the next. The next one is that breeding is important. Now, I'm not talking breeding as in, having kids. I'm talking the breed that you are. Because one of the aspects of character creation is that while all Garu have an auspice, all Garu also have a breed. And that is either Homid, Metis, or a Lupus. Now, Metis can be pronounced, I know some people pronounce it Métis, but Métis it's the name of an actual Aboriginal Native American tribe. And there's a lot of things in here that are kind of Native American. There's several tribes that are like blatantly Native American Garu. They're supposed to be. There's a lot of leaning on that and the spirituality and so forth. It's kind of heavy on that. So know that going in as well, because there could be some things in here that if you are a Native American, if that is your heritage, there may be stuff in here that you may find offensive. Uh, Myself, I'm not Native American. I can't weigh in on that particular thing other than to say there's some stuff in here that kind of makes me wonder what White Wolf was doing back then. I mean, some of the choices can be a little bit gauche, a little bit crass, but it's one of those things. That happens in any system, especially a lot of the ones that White Wolf's put out. They hit religion hard with Demon the Fallen. I know that. Uh, so know that going in. But you've got the breeds that you have, and depending on what breed you are, things can be different. Hamid, you were born human. You lived your life as a human right up until the first change when you realize you're a werewolf. The Metis are born basically of the forbidden coupling of two full-blooded Garu instead of a Garu with one of their kinfolk. Um, so you've got this forbidden mating that has spawned this creature that is born in werewolf form. And so you basically have to have lived your life in the Garu community. So that can affect you. Because those that live their lives in the Garu community until their first change, which could be for years before they actually can start looking human or wolf, then you have a very sheltered upbringing. And that's something to keep in mind. And then you got the lupus. The lupus, you're born a wolf. And your first change is usually a couple of years, not as much, because it's puberty for a wolf is different than puberty for a human, which is usually around when the first change happens. So you have a wolf, and you're born a wolf, and you know wolf things instinctively, so you don't know the human world as much. So you need to keep an eye on that, because when you are making your character, if you don't have a firm grasp of Garu culture yet, if you don't have an idea of how a wolf should act or what a wolf may or may not know, um, and you haven't done research on wolf behavior and that sort of thing, you need to either do that research first, or you may want to restrict yourself to playing a Homid until you get a better idea of how things go. Because it is very important for, like, the breed will affect and flavor the rest of your character far on into the character creation and into playing. Because there's certain things that, as a lupus, you should not be able to buy right off the bat. It even says in here that um, you get certain restricted abilities for a lupus. The following abilities are unavailable to beginning lupus characters. They can, however, acquire them with freebie points or through experience. So with creation points, you can't buy drive, etiquette, firearms, computer, law, linguistics, medicine, politics, or science. You can't buy any of those with creation dots. You can only buy them with freebie points or experience, because a lupus shouldn't know these things because they were born a wolf. They have no idea how to drive a car or use a firearm or computers, speaking other languages, science and politics. They don't know that. It's not in their venue. It's not what they do. Uh, the Métis as well also have something else because they have deformities, physical deformities, because they are a unholy union between two Garu that shouldn't be. So you've got uh, this problem here with the Metis. Um, I apologize if I say Métis. I'm so used to here in Calgary, we've got the Métis Trail nearby, one of the roads, and I'm so used to saying it that way. In my head, it sometimes comes out that way. But yes, the that particular thing, the breed, you need to keep an eye on that going into character creation because that will affect how you're going to play the game. That should be always in your mind. Like, I'm playing a wolf character. Would my wolf know this? Have they discovered this in the time that they've been here? You got to keep that in mind. Um, so with that, we'll move on to the next, and then we have the tribes, tribal history, as I like to call it. That particular tip, because there are 13 tribes. 13. That's a lot of tribes, and there are so many of them. Yeah, 13. You got the Black Furies, the Bone Gnars, Children of Gaia, the Fianna, the Get of Fenris, the Glasswalkers, the Red Talons, the Shadow Lords, the Silent Striders, the Silver Fangs, the Stargazers, the Uktena, and the Wendigo. The last two are pretty pretty much steeped in the Native American stuff. All the others are to a lesser degree. Each one are from a different area. The Uktena and the Wendigo, I believe, are the ones kicking around North America originally. All of the others come from over this way. The Stargazers, I think. No, the Silent Striders are the ones from like Egypt. The Shadow Lords and the Silver Fangs are from Russia. The Fianna are from Ireland mainly. They're very Celtic. Uh, the Black Furies, I believe, are from the Mediterranean area. And then you get the Bone Gnars and the Glasswalkers that are more modern day tribes. Bone Gnars being kind of your uh, homeless vagrants. This Glasswalkers being more the businessmen of the cities. They're the city werewolves, mostly. That doesn't mean other werewolves can't be in the cities, but Glasswalkers and Bone Gnars are the ones that are more attuned to the city and its ways and means. So you've got all these different things. Also, the Red Talons, composed entirely of lupus. They hate men, as in mankind. They hate humans. They want nothing to do with them. They'd rather kill them all. So for anyone wanting to play a Red Talon and have them be a Homid to start with, you're immediately stepping into wrong territory. I'm not saying it can't happen. It's possible, but it's not likely because the Red Talons are very prejudiced against that. The Get of Fenris, they're all Norse mythology and whatnot. They're very proud of it. Uh, the Black Fury is composed almost entirely of women. So pretty much almost every Black Fury Garu that's like full-blooded is woman. Uh, so there's definitely stuff in here that will jar with some people. And if you're going to make a character, you should do the research into that tribe. You should know what they're about, what they all do, what their history is, because this is something your character would have been taught, at least the basics of. And it's something you want to know if you can play, because you should kind of know your strengths and weaknesses. If you don't think you can play someone that is antagonistic and very much in your face, proud and defiant, you might not want to go against, you might not want to go and play the Get a Fenris or the Silver Fangs, for example. The Silver Fangs are also the one Garu tribe that, through a lot of inbreeding to keep the blood pure, they kind of have some derangements. So they're almost like the Malkavians in a way, but not entirely. So there's all kinds of stuff in here. Um, all kinds of interesting things, lots of politics and byplay between the various tribes and whatnot. Not all tribes get along. So it's something you want to keep in mind. You want to do your research into and check that out when going into it, because otherwise you could end up with problems in the social and communal aspect, which is coming up. We're almost there. Now, we've also got the fourth step. And the fourth step is, see if I can find it in here. It's probably a little bit farther back. Do 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 do. The fourth one is know the litany. Now there is a series of laws in here that the Garu go by, called the litany. And it is something that you, as a werewolf player, should know. It is like, a Garu will not mate with another Garu because it produces a metis. That's one of the tenets of the litany. There's one about treating your enemies with honor and respect. Um, never never suffer a traitor, I think, is one of the other ones. I can't remember them all, but there's like 10 or 12 things in here about the litany. Oh, there it is. Just found it. So yeah, the great song of the ages, carrying all the traditions, codes, and laws of the Garu. And it's got quite a few of them in here. I'll just briefly go through them. Garu shall not mate with a Garu. Combat the worm wherever it dwells and whenever it breeds. Respect the territory of another. Accept an honorable surrender. Submission to those of higher station. The first share of the kill for the greatest in station. Ye shall not eat the flesh of humans. Respect for those beneath ye. All are of Gaia. The veil shall not be lifted. Do not suffer thy people to tend thy sickness. The leader may be challenged at any time during peace. The leader may not be challenged during wartime. Ye shall take no action that causes a cairn to be violated. And those are the litany laws. And this is something that you should read up on, read the section that they have in the book, familiarize yourself with it, because these are the laws that are drilled into the Garu, as in, this is what you must obey. As a corollary to that, there is also renown, which is something that Werewolf gives to players to boost up their rank. And renown is toward the back of the book. There's like a whole section in here, I think towards the very back. Developer's notes, adding characters. Yeah, it's somewhere in here. There's a renown thing that lets you, oh yeah, renown chart. Gaining permanent renown, temporary renown. Yeah, I knew it was back here somewhere. Yeah, so there's like, as you can see, pages of stuff here with what renown it will give you, glory, honor, or wisdom, whether it will give you those dots, give you those points, or take them away if you do it. And it lists different things like besting someone, including a spirit in a riddle contest, will give you 3 wisdom to your renown for combats and encounters. Detecting the worm, cairn activities, Garu relations in society, teaching other Garu can give you renown. Learning the silver record completely will give you great renown. For a Hamid Garu, surviving to age 75 will give you amazing renown. And then it has different breeds. For a Hamid, ignoring one's wolf nature for too long will lose you renown. Now these are things that Garu society has known. So it's good to look through the renown chart, not to min-max or metagame, but to look through it to know what Garu tend to be looked favorably upon for, because this sort of thing is enforced through most STs that are running a werewolf game. Renown is kind of how you track your progress, how you track your influence and your ability, because you start off at like, once you're a full Garu, it's like you're rank 1, and then it's like moving up the ranks. And if you're a higher rank, people will defer to you. If you're a lower rank, you are supposed to defer to others of higher rank, as the litany says. That's one of the things. You need to keep an eye on that behavior and whatnot, because it's very very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Very, uh, not simple. I've lost my train of thought. It's been a long day. So yeah, you want to keep an eye on that. You want to know that litany, know what's expected of you. And now we're going to come to the last one, my last tip. And this one is that lone wolves are bad. Now, what I mean by that is there is a there is a large number of people that want to. They like that lone wolf stereotype. It's out there, the one guy that gets to go out and be the badass and do all of the cool things, and just take down the enemy all by themselves. There's a lot of people, especially that can play werewolf, that like to get into that mindset and be like, I'm going to make a badass werewolf, and he's not going to want any help, and he's going to do everything himself, and all this and that. Don't do that. Don't. Just don't even bother. I'll tell you right now, don't. Reason being, Garu society, the way it is set up in here, is that the Garu work together in packs. That's packs with a K. They have packs of wolves, and they create cairns, which are little societies of Garu with real Garu and with like the full-blooded Garu and the kinfolk. And the kinfolk are the ones who are the Garu support because Garu have rage inside them. Rage is one of the mechanics, and it prevents Garu from interacting with a normal society and normal people uh, extremely well. It doesn't mean they can't. What it means is that most people, whether they know it or not, will sense that rage inside them, inside another Garu, somebody that's talking to them. So Garu comes up and talks to a normal person, and the normal person will sense that rage and will be either they'll be intimidated and afraid, but how they react to that intimidation and fear is up to that character. Some people react by cowering, other people react by getting antagonistic, and that sort of thing prevents the Garu from really like doing normal things like going out and buying groceries or going out to a bar to enjoy a drink and that sort of thing. Also, the Garu nature tends to do that as well because it's really hard to get Garu drunk. But the kinfolk are there to do those sorts of things that the Garu can't. They're the ones that are there to go out and buy groceries and get food and uh, do these do the social interaction with normal people because they don't have that rage inside them to do that. That will prevent that sort of thing. So the Garu and the kinfolk and the Garu have this symbiotic relationship. Some more than others. Some tribes treat the kinfolk differently than other tribes. Other tribes treat the kinfolk as being family. There's one tribe in particular that treats them as like assets. I think you can guess which one that is. So it's very tricky and interesting because there's a lot of social aspect to this game, a lot of communal aspect, a lot of working as a group, and that's what the game is really built around. It's built around the party working together as a group. They're Garu. They're going to help the way things are and really do stuff. So that's kind of why lone wolves are bad and why you want to keep it in mind that this game, more so than any of the others, more so than Vampire especially, because while the vampires do tend to get together and congregate, they're kind of out for themselves in the long run. The Garu are not out for themselves, they're out for the good of the society, the good of the Garu nation. And as such, they have to keep that communal aspect going. They need to be validated by being in a group, by working together with the group. So if you've got it in your head to be a lone wolf, don't. Just don't. It's not worth it. All you're going to do is give everybody headaches and probably get yourself killed. And that's one other little tip, kind of a sub tip to this whole thing. If you are playing Werewolf the Apocalypse, if that is what you're going to do, know that chances are your character is going to die. They can live for sessions and sessions and sessions, but at some point your character will die because Werewolf the Apocalypse is very much a combat heavy game. I'm not saying that there's not social interaction, there's not politics, there's not mystery or any of that good stuff that can be found in the other games, because absolutely, absolutely it can be. But this particular one, werewolves, by their very nature, by the fact that they have this rage inside them, have the tendency to fly off the handle a lot. They do not like retreating in battle. They're very competitive and antagonistic characters. One of the litany tenets of the litany is to combat the worm wherever it dwells and whenever it breeds. It's right there in the core laws of that society. They will fight. They are warriors as a whole. And then you've got one particular subsection, the auspice of Arun, that are super warriors basically, because they are the warrior's warrior. But all Garu, all kinfolk, are expected to fight the worm in whatever ways they can. And with the Garu, that's usually by tearing it to bits, getting in there, claws and teeth. So chances are higher that your character can bite the dust in a combat encounter in Werewolf the Apocalypse. So you want to be prepared for that. You don't have to have like a stack of character sheets that you can just interchangeably change in and out. Don't do that. A good ST will not kill your character unnecessarily, uh, but be aware and be prepared that it can happen, and it's more likely to happen in a werewolf game than any other. So those are my 5 tips for playing Werewolf the Apocalypse. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like what I'm doing here, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. Usually try to get at least one video in a week, if not more. And throw a comment in the comment section for Werewolf the Apocalypse if you like it. Have you played it? Do you have any other tips that you think other people might like to hear? Throw that comment in the comment section. I'd love to get a discussion going with some people. And until next time, my friends, you all keep your claws sharp and look out for the worm. I'll catch you next time.